Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're here for the first time, my name is Samuel, and today we are talking about GoodNotes because GoodNotes as an app just released one of its most significant updates since its launch at the end of September, with a host of new updates from whiteboards, text documents, AI features, and a new pricing model, just to name a few. And I had the wonderful opportunity alongside some other creators to attend the launch in London, learn about some of these new updates, test them out, and honestly just learn a bit about how these app releases go. And it was a pretty cool experience.
I don't care.
1, 2, 3,
Anywhere. Like a river connects to the ocean, this pavement touches wherever we're going. White lines flying by, who knows what we'll find, you and me tonight. Drive. Let's drive.
You know, I have used GoodNotes extensively over the last 6 years, back from when I was a student, using GoodNotes for in university to take notes in class, annotate lecture slides, highlight and annotate textbook readings, and also to construct well-designed, beautifully formatted summaries of my understanding. I've also used it to teach. I've also used it professionally in a work context to take notes in meetings, to collaboratively brainstorm ideas with my colleagues, and even present ideas in a creative way when I make professional reports. But here's the thing, up till this point, GoodNotes has focused on primarily being the best handwritten note-taking app there can be out there. And I think with this update, they're radically challenging what this app could be. So I'm going to structure this video into 3 parts. Firstly, what are the new features in this app? Secondly, the updated pricing model. And thirdly, some of my critical thoughts about the app update as a whole. Let's start with Whiteboard. This is, in my humble opinion, the best of all the new features that have been added in this update. If you know me, I love whiteboards, and at my job at the university, you literally can't take a whiteboard marker out of my hands. The opportunity to have the parameters of a limited page removed from you just to go wild with your ideas and form connections between things is a process I really enjoy. And so when I heard GoodNotes was introducing a whiteboard, I was keen to hear the thinking behind why they made this decision, and this is what they said.
So we know that so many people actually really love our fixed page format because it helps them to constrain themselves a little bit more. At the same time, we also know that if your ideas need to flow freely, you just sometimes need a little bit more space because you write down something and then you have another thought and it just expands beyond the limits of a physical page. And that's why we introduced Whiteboard, to just be an infinite canvas that doesn't constrain you in the way you want to write thoughts down and just helps your ideas flow more freely.
One of the cool things about the whiteboard when you test it out is it's better than a real world whiteboard. It's an infinite digital canvas. Unlike traditional notebooks with set page sizes, whiteboards give you unlimited space to map out ideas, create mind maps, or work through complex problems. And I see this being so helpful, particularly for students. So for example, if you're making a mind map for an essay that you're planning, or maybe you're just revising for an exam, it's a really cool way to approach that. Maybe you're working through a maths problem and you want the ability to move in multiple directions. Maybe you're brainstorming ideas as part of a group project, a really cool way to collect your ideas. Or even just visual note-taking for subjects like biology and chemistry. When I was a student at university, I went page by page by page by page, and that was really cool because you kind of had these constraints around you. But one of the things that lacked was the ability to show connections between things. So in lecture 5, they might have brought up a molecule like ATP, and then that molecule would come up again and again in lecture 6, lecture 7, lecture 10. And I think if I was to go back, the ability to arrange some of these notes and ideas on a whiteboard that I continually keep adding to as I gain understanding would be a pretty cool way to see connections between things. Now, I don't just think this will be helpful for students. I think this is a feature that is incredibly valuable to professionals as well. As I said earlier, I use a whiteboard a lot of the time at work, and that challenge of trying to get the ideas out of the heads of multiple people in the room onto one page is really a challenge, particularly in an online environment because it's hard to simulate a whiteboard. And I think this really gives you a chance to do that digitally. You can do process mapping, workflow design. It's a cool way to plan together. It's a cool way to present ideas to clients. And even if you go into it, there are all these really cool templates when you go to create a whiteboard that you can use, such as a SWOT analysis, meeting notes, taking templates, Venn diagrams, etc. So they give you a starting point. I'm more of the kind of person who goes and makes my own templates, but there's a lot of possibility, I think, with this feature here. You can tell that this wasn't just thrown together in the last minute. They've put a lot of thought and intentionality into this. I had the chance to speak to the GoodNotes CEO a couple of weeks ago, and this is what he said about Whiteboard.
It has always been the biggest feature request that people want to have an infinite canvas. So, but this is pretty difficult to do technically. So we actually spent a couple of years to create this whiteboard experience. So we start from the very bottom, even the rendering engine, all the way to the interactions to make this happen.
It's seamless, it's intuitive, it works like everything else on GoodNotes. And the fact that you're not noticing all those tiny things here and there mean that this thing is working really well. If all this update was just adding whiteboards, for me, I'd be happy. The next new feature in GoodNotes is another new file type, and it is text documents. It is full text document support in an app that was previously predominantly made for handwriting. Until now, if you wanted to type in GoodNotes, you were limited to text boxes within handwritten pages. But now, you can create proper text documents with full formatting, headers, bullet points, and professional layouts. There's a lot of word processing apps existing out there already. And so I was interested to hear the rationale as to why GoodNotes was going in this direction. And so when I asked them, this is what they said.
So a lot of users told us that they love GoodNotes for free-form thinking and note-taking, but when it comes to structuring their ideas and sharing their ideas, they hit a block, and they kept asking for a much better typing experience in GoodNotes. So we built text documents as a way to make typing also a first-class citizen in GoodNotes, so that you can not only just capture notes by writing on your iPad, but you can do that on your MacBook where you have your keyboard and typing is the main medium, or even on your phone where you have a quick idea or a quick thought you to jot down. You can just take out GoodNotes, open text docs, and start typing in it.
I can see this being quite a significant improvement for a lot of students. In particular, if you're typing out essays and assignments alongside your handwritten notes, now you have an opportunity in GoodNotes to do that. Maybe you're taking notes and conducting some research and you want better formatting. Maybe you want to mix typed content with handwritten note diagrams. While there isn't something unique and distinct around the typing mechanics, after all, it is just a word processor, the fact that you can have all your file types, handwritten and typed up in one location, makes it so much more easier to manage, particularly for students. The formatting reminds me a lot of the formatting in Notion. I don't know if you guys have used it before. It has different heading sizes, it has dot points, and so I found it very intuitive, and it's also quite easy to make it look good from the outset. I will say though that I found myself not using this feature as much because when I go to work, I'm often taking an iPad here in the smart folio case, so I don't use the Magic Keyboard because I have a laptop with me. And so because most of my typing is already done on my laptop, on apps that I already have an affinity and attachment to, such as Pages, Notion, Apple Notes, and I have my own process there, I found it hard to kind of make this my thing. So the final of the 3 new features GoodNotes has added into their new app is AI integration. Now, every week I hear about a new AI innovation that is able to do a new thing that the previous thing couldn't do before. And so I'm always interested to hear what's distinct about a new AI tool. And so with GoodNotes, while the actual features and capability have been seen in other places, what makes it unique is its ability to integrate both handwritten and typed up text. So if you didn't know already, GoodNotes AI is actually able to go in and search through your handwritten notes and find out specific words you have written. And I think they've sort of built on this technology, and now you can go and ask GoodNotes something. So if you just go up to the top left-hand corner, you'll see this icon here. You can do a whole heap of stuff. So for example, with this page on muscles here, I can ask GoodNotes to summarize my notes, and it will generate a really nice dot point summary of my whole thing. It's not something that I would use for this page of notes, but for example, if I had pages and pages and pages of handwritten notes that I'd taken in meetings. It's a pretty cool feature to have. You can also ask it to answer a question based on the information that's provided in the note. So the note could be a handwritten page of notes. It could be a textbook. And it'll go through and it will synthesize an answer based on the information that's available. So as you can see here, I've been asking GoodNotes questions about my notes on muscles, and it's able to synthesize the right answer. I just want to make one point very clear before we move on. You can't be relying on GoodNotes to get the information right when you use its AI, because it's relying on the information in your notes being right. Never see AI as something you should outsource your judgment to. Just see it as a tool or an assistant that thinks alongside you. But the moment you're outsourcing your judgment to it, I think problems begin to arise. You can also ask GoodNotes to quiz you. And so as you can see here, I asked GoodNotes to give me a quiz and it generated 5 questions. It tested me. I got the answer wrong 5 times, and each time it gave me the correct answer and explanation as to why that answer was correct. There's also the ability to get GoodNotes to help you when you're doing maths. And also, if you're in a meeting, you've probably seen this feature in other apps before, but GoodNotes also has inbuilt into its app the ability to live transcribe a meeting, capture all of the audio, and also synthesize a summary of it. And if you're interested in a particular section of it, it can also jump back, play it for you, or you can read through it. A very handy feature for a lot of people. It's not a feature I use because a lot of the meetings I'm involved in, I would actually say 70% of the information that's talked about is useless to me. And so the capacity to discern what is useful versus useless is more important to me than having all the information. And so often I just rely on the notes that I take, but I know a lot of people use this, so it's good to have. The final bundle of AI features in GoodNotes is found in its ability to generate stuff. For example, you might have just run an ideation session in GoodNotes, brainstorming in the Whiteboard app, and then you can ask GoodNotes to create a summary of all the ideas together in a document. Provide it with an outline and then ask it to create a proposal. You can ask it to generate an itinerary. You can ask it to read through your draft document and provide you with feedback. And to be honest, a lot of these features I have seen before in other apps and I already have access to them. But the one feature that I was super impressed by, that I think is the coolest of all the AI features in my opinion, is image generation. And it's not just image generation that looks like AI. GoodNotes AI has the ability to generate images that look like they have been hand-drawn in GoodNotes. So for example, while I was in London, we played around with, generating a image of a digestive tract. And this was the image that it generated. And what's cool is because it's in GoodNotes, it's actually created with the kind of vector ink that GoodNotes uses. So you can go in with the lasso tool, you can select it and change its color, or you can go in and color it and edit it. Back when I was studying physiology, anatomy, cell biology, etc., this would have been so cool to play around with. Now, bear in mind, once again, it occasionally has the odd error in the way it annotates the diagram. So a random word might pop up here and there, or the arrow from the label might be pointing to the wrong thing, or something might be labeled twice. So you got to make sure you're discerning. You got to make sure you're testing what AI is producing alongside a reliable source or a more reliable diagram. That's the one caveat I have there, but this is such a cool feature, and a feature that I think a lot of students would appreciate if they got their hands on it. Now I say if because not everyone is going to have access to this feature, and I'm going to get to that in the next part of this video, but just to wrap up the AI section, I really like the direction GoodNotes is going with its AI. It's seamlessly integrated. It's trying to do one thing really well, which is look at your notes and support you and be an assistant in the way that you take notes. All right, let's move on to the next part of the video, the elephant in the room, GoodNotes' new pricing model. So when I initially heard that there was a new pricing model / structure to GoodNotes, I was a little apprehensive because I'm like, this is a good app. It's priced reasonably well. People are happy with it. Don't tamper with that too much. But when I thoroughly investigated it, I realized it's not that crazy or radical at all. I do have some big questions about it, which I'll get to towards the end of the video. But for now, as an individual, there are 4 GoodNotes plans you get to choose from when you use the app. So firstly, we've got the free version of GoodNotes, which I'm really glad that they have kept. It's sort of like a demo version of the app. It allows you to create up to 3 files in the document. Now, those could either be a file that you import up to 5 MB, or it could just be a note that you create. And let's just say you don't want to pay at all, and you just want a place where you can take a couple of handwritten digital notes occasionally. You can create 3 notebooks, and you can just keep going and adding page after page after page. A lot of other features are limited, but you still have that basic writing experience that a lot of people want. Now, the next 3 plans on offer are paid subscription models. With GoodNotes 6, which was the previous iteration of this app, which had less capability, it was an annual subscription model, and it cost $10 per year. Now, if you were to just break it down monthly just to see what that was like, it's essentially 83 cents per month, which I think is fairly reasonable for most students out there. Now, with the new update of GoodNotes, I believe the equivalent subscription to that one is GoodNotes Essential. And it comes in at $12 per year, so $12 annually, which is $1 per month. You get unlimited files, access to all the note-taking tools, unlimited audio recording and transcription, exclusive downloadable templates and digital stationery. You do have limited GoodNotes AI, and this is sort of where my first question arises. There is no content generation included in the Essential plan. Now, for 90% of the content generation features that were listed earlier, that is not an issue to me, and I don't even think that'd be an issue to most students. But the fact that the image generation feature is not included in the Essential plan, for me, is really, really disappointing. I wish it was part of this. Instead, that's the part of the next level of subscription, which costs 3 times as much. So that's GoodNotes Pro. It comes in at $36 annually, $36 a year. That is around $3 a month. And you get everything that's in Essential. You get an integration with Google Calendar and Google Drive, which, for example, a lot of iOS people will already be using iCloud. You get private link sharing and real-time collaboration. I will say, though, I think the one feature that was in the previous version of GoodNotes 6 was real-time collaboration, so that's sort of gone up a tier. You're also able to sync across Apple, Windows, Android, and web versions of GoodNotes. Once again, not an issue if you're on iOS, but for people who are not. And you get all those content generation features, co-editing features, and for meetings, you can go beyond just transcribing and recording audio. You're actually able to generate those AI summaries and AI enhanced meeting minutes. It's pretty clear that with GoodNotes Pro, they're shifting away from students who are taking notes at school and university and really targeting people at work who want to use GoodNotes in a more professional workflow. And then the 4th plan at the far end, GoodNotes Special Edition. Now, this is basically a GoodNotes Essential plan that is being sold as a one-time payment. So instead of signing up for GoodNotes Essential at $12 a year and paying that annually going forward, with Special Edition, you get ownership of the app. Something really important to note, if you were already on a GoodNotes 6 plan, I believe that transfers over to a GoodNotes Essential plan for that year, and then you'll have to move on to that higher subscription price next year. And if you had already made the one-time purchase with GoodNotes 6, I believe that one-time purchase carries over to GoodNotes Special Edition. You'll notice one more thing here on GoodNotes website that I'm honestly still trying to wrap my mind around because I think the devil's in the details. If you didn't know, you don't have an unlimited number of AI uses in GoodNotes, and I'm sure that there's a good reason for that. And the way that they're quantifying the number of times you can use the AI feature is through a system of credits. So you have a total of 525 AI credits per month, and they will always reset at the start of every month. Now, when I asked the GoodNotes team for a sense of how many credits equate to what kind of prompt, the response I got was it's hard to pin it down, and essentially different prompts and different questions are going to demand a different number of credits. Now, I haven't gone through and investigated this extensively, but just from my brief, quick investigation. So to make a summary of the 8 pages of handwritten notes on the muscular system that you saw earlier, that costs 4 credits. To ask GoodNotes a question about that note and get it to synthesize an answer, that costs 4 credits. When I did go into the 5-question quiz that you saw earlier, I noticed that consumed 24 credits. I'm not exactly sure how many credits it takes to generate a hand-drawn diagram. But that would be good to know. And if anyone manages to figure that out in the comment section, please let me know. I'd be interested in figuring that out. Honestly, I think you have more than enough credits per month. But for people who kind of want to shift their entire AI workflow from other apps to this one, I believe that's what the AI Pass is for. Essentially with AI Pass, you get 12 times as many AI credits. And I believe that is a total of 6,300 extra GoodNotes AI credits monthly. And that comes in at $10 a month. For me personally, because I already am invested in other AI apps that fit into my workflow, particularly with typed up text, I'm all good. And I think the 525 credits is more than enough for the stuff I want to do with handwritten notes. But as I said earlier, I'm totally fine with this pricing plan, but if only there was a way to get image generation from the Pro plan into the Essential plan, I think so many students would love to play around with it. So yeah, guys, to conclude, to step back and give you my big picture view of this app, I think it's really important to acknowledge that what makes GoodNotes a great app isn't what is new, but what was already there. For me, what makes GoodNotes distinct and stand out from all its other competitors is three things. Firstly, its outstanding writing mechanics. I just love the way my handwriting looks and feels every time I pick up the Apple Pencil and write on the digital screen. Second is the lasso tool. This is essentially the selection tool in GoodNotes, and it allows you to circle an object of text and then resize it, move it around the page, rotate it, change its color, make duplicates of things, and it honestly feels magical. No one else does it as good. Apple Notes doesn't do it as good. Notability doesn't do it as good. I think it is the star of what makes GoodNotes such a great app. And then finally, I've just loved the customizability, the colors, the pen thickness. Everyone I talk to has a slightly different setup, and the fact that you can tailor it to your needs and what you like is really cool with GoodNotes. And so even before we get into these new features, I just want to acknowledge GoodNotes is an outstanding app that do some fundamental things really well. And I look back to that time when I was using GoodNotes 4 for the first time, and sure, it was a little clunky, it didn't look as aesthetically beautiful, probably lacked a lot of functionality, but it had those three core features. And as we've iterated and innovated across time, what's been interesting to see is GoodNotes has added to it, but with this update in particular, I think it's really pushing the core of what this app is. It's now an app that's more than just a place to take handwritten notes. It's a place where you can take all of your notes. I'm sure for some people, it's going to continue to be a really great handwriting iPad app that they're going to use just for that. And I'm sure for other people, it's going to be the one place where they take all their digital notes, all their handwritten notes. They're even going to use it as a tool to think with and to use the AI features in there as like an intellectual buddy to push up against and debate. You know, I kind of look at the stuff that's out there these days and I'm like, imagine picking up a book written by someone like really smart, like Isaac Newton, and imagine being able to ask the book questions. And yeah, it's AI kind of doing it, but what if we could get to the stage where we're sort of in dialogue with the mind of Isaac Newton, you know? What if we got to the stage where we could like debate Socrates and wrestle with his mind through AI in these sort of apps? And so I'm really happy to see the expansive direction GoodNotes is going in. If you have any questions or queries, by the way, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.
When's the last time we dropped our things and went? Woke up somewhere